Today we're going to be taking a look at Prosharp's Home unit. This is pretty much a dream come true for skaters and players because it means that we can now sharpen our skates from pretty much anywhere. But before you put your skates into these things, I know there's probably a couple of things that you want to make sure that you're doing or that you know how to do to make sure that you don't mess your blades up, because now you have full responsibility of making sure that that's done properly. But it's not a scary thing, it's really easy to do this, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. First things first is making sure this thing has power. Great thing about the Home unit from Prosharp is that there's only one cable you have to put into it, which makes things nice and simple for us. So we're going to put in the power cable. From there, you're going to need to select which grinding wheel that you want. Now, you might have purchased the Prosharp unit with one grinding wheel or multiple grinding wheels. The wheels are what alter the depth of the hollow on your skate's blade, which is basically how much of the skate digs into the ice. If you want it deep, great for turning, or shallow, great for acceleration, these wheels are what's going to decide that. So select the one that you want, and we're going to show you how to put it into the machine and make sure that it's secure. Once you've selected which grinding wheel that you want, to make sure that you put it inside your Home unit facing the right way, the side of the grinding wheel that has all of the writing on it and also the Prosharp logo, that's the side that you want to be facing you or outside of the machine to ensure that you've got it in there facing the right direction. It's really important to make sure that when you're pushing the grinding wheel into the Home unit, you push it as far back as it's going to go so it sits completely flush inside there to ensure that it's nice and secure. From there, you're going to need to put the nut in place to ensure the grinding wheel is nice and tight inside the machine. For this, all you need to make sure is that the side of the nut that it's completely smooth, that's the side that you want to be facing you or facing outside the machine to ensure that that goes on correctly. While tightening the nut that holds the grinding wheel in place, make sure you actually hold on to the grinding wheel just to make sure that you're able to get that nut on there nice and securely. So the next thing you might be thinking about is how do you know if that grinding wheel is going to be hitting your blade right down the middle to make sure that you have a nice, consistent, level sharpen. The way that you do that is to calibrate the wheel. Now, it's not as scary as it sounds. All you need to do is just adjust the calibration knob inside the machine. It's really nice and simple. You rotate it left to move the wheel left. You rotate the wheel right to move the wheel right. While you're doing this, you'll feel a series of clicks, and that just lets you know that the wheel is being adjusted in its position. The first way that you can check this is what I like to refer to as a visual inspection, where you just look over the top of the machine to see if the wheel is sitting central. A way that you can check this on the skate, the way I like to do it is with a marker, either a blue one, a black one, or a green one. It's better to go for darker colors that are going to show up on the steel. And what you do with this is run the marker on the bottom of the blade and then put the skate in the machine and let the wheel pass over the blade once. Now what you're looking for if you've done this is to ensure that the grinding wheel has removed all of the marker from the bottom of your blade consistently, making sure that there aren't any areas that it's missed. That lets you know that the grinding wheel is coming into contact with your blade correctly. And that's how you get calibrated to make sure that you get a nice, level, consistent sharpen every single time that you use this machine. The great thing about this process is you only have to do it once. Even when you move the machine around, this isn't something that you have to repeat every time you start it. So if you decide that you want to change the grinding wheel that you're using to a different hollow and you're worried that as you've changed the wheel, you might have altered the calibration process, you can use the steps that we've shown you to make sure that the wheel is still coming into contact with the blade right down the middle. Before you use your Home unit, be sure to check the levels on your edges. If you find that they're off and you sharpen the skate as normal, what's going to happen is those edges are still going to be off after you finish sharpening them. To be able to correct this, if your skate edges aren't level, you just need to increase the amount of passes that the grinding wheel is going to take over the blade. We'd recommend anywhere from 5 to 6 passes to make sure that your edges come out nice and level. We'd suggest also checking the edges after you finish the first 5 or 6 passes, because it really depends on how badly off your edges are as to how many passes you'll need to be able to correct this. After you finish sharpening your skates comes a very important part, and that's honing the blade. Now what this essentially does is it removes burrs from the edge of the blade. If you don't do this process, it's going to basically feel like you're skating inside mud. Your edges aren't going to feel right, so you want to make sure that you do this. The best way to do this and the safest way to do this is to place your skate onto a table, making sure that the burr stone sits flush against the side of the blade. Now at no point should the burr stone come into contact with the top of the blade, because you might ruin the sharpen that you've just put on them. Now you want to make sure that you apply a gentle amount of pressure as you move the burr stone side to side, and try to make sure that you do this an even number of times on both sides of the blade. A quick point is to make sure that you begin this process with the diamond coated or very, very rough side of your burr stone, and after you've done this an even amount of times on both sides, flip the stone over and use the ceramic side. Again, even number of times to give you the best result. There's also a few optional extras that you can use after you've used the honing stone, just to ensure you get the best result every single time. In terms of when you'll need to replace the grinding wheel, The way that works is, if you look at the surface of it, it's very, very abrasive, very rough. The more you use it, the more the center of the wheel comes into contact with the blade on your skates. It starts to develop a groove down the center of it. Now, when that groove becomes smooth, very, very smooth to touch, and almost develops like a mirror-like finish, that's when it's going to be a time for you to replace the wheel. But just to give you an idea of when you're going to have to think about that, one of these wheels we said will do at least 500 pairs of skates. Now, if you play hockey a lot, and let's say you're sharpening your skates once every week, that's 52 times every year. Now work out how many times you're going to sharpen your skates before you need to replace one of these. It's going to be close to 10 years. So these things aren't something that you need to replace every week, every month, every quarter. They're going to last you a very, very long time. And the cost for replacing one of these grinding wheels is 99 euros. I know as a player myself, in getting one of these machines, your concerns are the responsibility of sharpening your skates and how you feel on the ice is now down to you, which can be a little bit daunting at the beginning because you don't want to make a mess of your skates. It's nice being able to just hand our skates off to the guy in the pro shop who takes them away, sharpens them, brings them back to us. We don't even think about it. But when that's put in your own hands, it can be a bit scary, but it's very, very easy to get used to using this machine. It just requires a tiny bit of practice and hopefully watching this video. But things you need to bear in mind is that sound that you hear, that really aggressive churning, grinding sound. It's a diamond-coated steel wheel touching a steel blade. It's going to be aggressive, but it's nothing to be worried about. That's just the sound that it makes when it's sharpening your skates, so there's nothing to be alarmed about with that. The finish of the blade speaks for itself. I know the sound can be scary, but you need to put that to one side because it's not important. It's the finish of the blade. You're going to get a great quality grind, but most importantly, it's a consistent grind. There's nothing worse than getting your skates sharpened. The next time you get it sharpened, it doesn't feel anything like the first time. With one of these machines, you can have the exact same consistent feeling every single time you step onto the ice. Maintaining your Prosharp Home unit is extremely easy. You're only going to realistically need two things. That's a vacuum cleaner and a slightly damp cloth. The vacuum cleaner is always going to be the better option. The reason for that is every time you finish sharpening a pair of skates, you're going to find a collection of dust or little tiny metal shavings in the base of the home unit. The vacuum cleaner is just to get rid of that. We recommend using the plastic or the rubber side of the vacuum cleaner just so you don't leave any marks on the inside of your home unit. Not like that would be an issue, but just in case you want to keep it looking pristine. With a damp cloth, that's just another way that you can do it if you don't have access to a vacuum cleaner. If you're using the home unit while you're out and about, if you're inside a hockey locker room or you're in the middle of a pond, a simple damp cloth will be good enough to be able to pick up all of those metal shavings to be able to make sure that your home unit is kept spotless. The only thing that you need to watch out for when you're using the vacuum cleaner on the inside of your home unit, and also if you're using a slightly damp cloth, is the flat metal cable that will be inside right at the back of the home unit. You want to make sure that you avoid this just to make sure that you don't alter or affect the way the home unit works. Hopefully this video has given you all of the information that you need to be able to take one of these Prosharp home units away and use it easily, consistently, without any issues. For more information, visit prosharp.com.